Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Daniel Sun from CKF, and I'll be going over fizzBuzz Array-2 from CodingBat today. Now this problem is a very famous problem in coding interviews, and this is just like a slightly harder version of it, let's say. They tell us that in here, more difficult version of the infamous fizzBuzz problem. And let's get into the problem. Consider the series of numbers beginning at start and running up but not including end. So for example, if you get start as 1 and end is 5, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, since 5 is not included. Return a new string array containing the string form of these numbers, right? So you would return the array with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Except for multiples of 3, use fizz instead of the number, like we see here, since 3 is a multiple of 3, and buzz in the multiples of 5, like here where there's 5. And for multiples of both 3 and 5, use fizzBuzz instead of, either. So for example, it was 15, that's divisible by both 3 and 5, which means that we'll be replacing it with fizzBuzz. So in Java, it says string.of_value xxx will make the form of the string an int or other type. And this version is a little more complicated than the usual version since you have to allocate an index into an array instead of just printing. So that's just like not the most, important thing. It's just saying how it's different from the original fizzBuzz problem. So basically that is the problem. Let's put this into here. And by the way, all this code will be in the description. Let's see. So for this problem, there's a lot of ways to solve it. A lot of them are pretty simple, but we're gonna be exploring a data type you don't really see a lot, which is string builder. If you've done like a Java class or something like that, you might have heard of string builder before, but not a lot of people use it because it's not the most common thing to use. Let's go into the Oracle documentation just to look at what it is. So it's a mutable sequence of characters. Mutable basically just means that it could be changed, and blah blah blah, compatible with string buffer. Not really important for us in this case. So this is what is important. Constructor summary. This is how you make a string builder. Just a string builder is empty. Char sequence basically means that it's a sequence of chars and it's going to turn it into a string. And int, which is going to turn the int into like the capacity, like the length of the string builder that's possible. And when we put a string in here, it's just gonna make a string builder with that value of string. And they have a bunch of these methods here. A lot of these are similar, but the way Java works, you need to separate them. Append boolean, char array, int offset, int len, sequence, char sequence, double float, int long object string builder, string buffer. All of these basically mean whatever you put in there is going to turn it into a string and put it at the end of your code, right? End of your string build. And for these ones, it's useful to look at them at some point. It's not the most needed right now. Like capacity, that's basically the length of the length version. Okay, it's basically the length method, but then in string builder class. Char@ is the same as the string class. Delete, that's like self-explanatory. All of these like index of, insert you've seen before or kind of get what it's about, like reverse. So that's basically like a quick review of the string builder class. So we're gonna get back to this problem. So how are we gonna use this? Basically, the part we're gonna use it is in that it's fizzBuzz or fizzBuzz. You'll kind of notice that you could put this as a boolean, right? Is it a multiple of 3? Is it a multiple of 5? That's 2 booleans. And if 3 is true, you put a buzz in there. If 5 is true, you put a buzz in there. If they're both true, you put both in there. So what we're gonna do is basically have two conditions where basically we're going to modulo 3 equals to 0 and modulo 5 equals to 0. If you don't know what modulo is, we have a video that Joseph made a bit ago. I'll be linking it up in the corner somewhere. And let's see. What we could look at here is gonna be, because we have two conditions and each of those conditions mean that we add a specific string to the thing, right? That means that we're gonna have a string builder, what's called string builder, that is empty at first. And if modulo 3 something equals to 0, then we're gonna add, let's say we put str in there. str.append, remember how append does, right? We're gonna append a string that goes fizz, and if it is divisible by 5, we're gonna append buzz. So this makes sense, right? If it's gonna be divisible by 3, we put fizz. If it's divisible by 5, we put buzz. So in here, after this is all done, we're gonna say, we're gonna set that. Let's say we have like an array here, right? Because we need an array equal something, blah blah blah, and then there's like a for loop from start to end. And let's say we had this, oops, that is not what I tried to do. If we had that, we're gonna add array at some number, we're gonna add str. But if str is empty, re just equals to some number, right? So that's gonna be like the basic outline of our code. Like, yeah, it's pretty simple. Like, coding interviews aren't too difficult if you've been doing code for a while. So yeah, we're gonna be implementing this into actual code. Like, we're not gonna use something like that in actual code, right? Let's turn it into actual code where they give us an int of start and int of end. So first of all, we need an array that is the correct size. Let's say we have array, int array equals to new int array, and what's the length here, right? It's gonna be end minus start, because it's going from the end all the way to the start. And here we're gonna go from for int I equal to start, and I is less than end I plus plus. And here, is it less than or is it less than or equal to? It's gonna be less than, because if you remember up here they said not including end. So if we have 1 to 5, we're gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, then not 5. So it's less than here. And then next we're gonna do what we plan to do. Let's say we have a string builder equals to, str equals to new string builder. And as you remember, if we just leave that blank, it's just gonna build no characters in it and an initial capacity of 16 characters. That doesn't really matter to us right now. And so we just make a new string builder for now. And then we're gonna say we're gonna make two booleans, right? We're gonna say 3 and 5, simple names, and they mean something, right? So I modulo 3 equals to 0, and I modulo 5 equals to 0. Fair enough. Oops, did not need to put that there. Okay, we have these two booleans now, and now to use them, right? So if 3 is true, then we're gonna do str.append fizz, as said before. If 5 is true, then we're gonna do str.append buzz. Simple enough. And if str that, let's see here what it was. Let's see. Capacity is not it here. We need to check if it is empty. Right? Okay, so let's look through here if there's something we need. Ah, there, length. So returns the length of the amount of characters we have. That's exactly what we need. So if we say str.length and it returns int, as it says before, is not equal to 0. So that means that there is something, right? Then we're gonna do r of, okay, here, what do we need? It's gonna be I minus start, because when I is start, we need to put it in the 0th index, right? So start minus start is 0, and start minus end, end minus start is gonna be the last, place. R of I minus start is gonna be equal to str, right? And do we need to? Yes, we do need to turn it into a string before putting it in there. So we're gonna do str.toString and else. So if it is empty, we're just gonna do I minus start equals to I, because that's the number we're at right now. Okay, that should be it, but let's see if there's anything else. Oh, yes, that's an integer. So int to string method Java, and if you remember here, it's gonna be integer.toString. No, wait. Yeah. So integer.toString of I. And then at the end, we return what is R, and that should be the answer that we're looking for. Oops, there is an error. Line 14 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's see what's wrong here. Java length string cannot be converted to int. What is that saying? Ah, yes, we put this as int. Well, that should be string array, not an int array, because we're returning string, right? Okay, let's see if it works now. And there we go, all correct. And it works perfectly. Obviously, there are simpler ways to solve it, like just using simple strings instead of string builder, things like that. But we gotta get used to these different data types, right? And be able to use them, be able to look at the documentation, know what it means, be able to Google things, be able to figure out how to do things. And here, everything we searched up was pretty simple, but later on, when there are more complex problems, it's important that we have these skills. And basically, that'll be it for today. The code, as I said, will be in the description in the document. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.